Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lakeisha Coleman. I am a solution engineer with Esri, and today I'm going to be talking about quite a few different field operations, either our applications or also kind of where we've been at Esri, where we are now, and where we're going with our applications. So I have quite a few different things I want to go through in terms of the applications in terms of why we use field mobility applications, and then some of the new items coming out. And so I will also do most of this will likely be on an intro to ArcGIS Field Maps. So hopefully, with the interest of time, I will be able to show you some of the features, at least in the web application. But going back to me, I've been with Esri for about almost a year now, not quite there. Next month will be my 1-year anniversary. I've actually been doing GIS since about 1999, so I can right now say that I've been doing this for over half my life, which is kind of odd, to think about. But I've been in different industries using GIS, and a lot of my work recently has been in field applications. And so just kind of seeing the importance of field operations and how we've kind of evolved in data collection, especially. This is a list or three of common use cases or uses and industries in which we see a lot of our field mobility applications being used. So whether you fall on this list or not, you can at least see some of the other industries that are using field mobility applications. And so you can also get an idea of kind of the increasing importance of field applications. And so typically, why we use them, it's usually to increase efficiency, whether, you're trying to save time or also just trying to get your workforce doing a lot better out in the field. A lot of industries also still rely on paper, or they're moving away from paper, especially with types of inspections that they have to perform on the job. And so with our field mobility applications, we're kind of helping you reduce that paper consumption, and then also getting into more of that real-time information that you can get back in the office, or have different people take a look at. Some of you may have seen this slide before if you've been to any of our Esri either conferences, workshops, seminars. We like to kind of position our field operations in these types of activities, kind of the 6 key activities that we've pretty much discovered with working with different users for having them bring maps and data into the field, and also working with that data that's been captured in the field. What you'll find also is that there's not a number on any of these particular key activities. We understand that planning is typically probably going to come first in any type of workforce, but we also know that a lot of things pop up. And so the idea of field data collection, or just your industries in general, it can be very dynamic. Certain things can come up in any given day, any given hour, and you might have to adjust and shift gears accordingly. So, we have these different applications based on the different activities that would be happening in your workforce. Typically, again, planning, that might be the number one thing that you do. Or at least the first thing that you do. And we have applications such as Workforce, where you can plan out the particular work orders for your field teams. We also have some data capture activities that go on, and we have a number of applications such as Collector, Survey 123, and QuickCapture. And also, even if you're not collecting information out in the field, maybe you're viewing it back in the office, or maybe executive staff has to take a look at the operations going on. So we do have some monitoring types of applications. Either you want to know where people are and you can track them, or you just want to see what's going on. And so we have a combination of things you can use within operations dashboard as well. So up to now, if you've been using some of our products for the past few years, we've kind of been doing an app per type of field work, or per type of activity. So kind of keeping in line with some of the big names like Apple and Google, back in, we'll say, the mid-2010s, the idea was kind of having a specific application to do a specific task. So you would have one application for type A, one application for type B, and then so forth. And so this is also part of the reason you see a lot of our different applications available right now, because they do different things. What you've also likely experienced is kind of the frustration, maybe we'll even say, of having to go from one application to the next, and possibly even opening up 5 different applications just to complete one work order. And so we understand that that can be quite cumbersome, and we're working on it. We hear you, we've heard you, and we're taking that feedback, and we're going to try to make this better. So I will go into one of our newest applications in just a moment, but I wanted to talk about one of the popular ones as well, which is Survey 123 for ArcGIS. Some of you might already be using this. It's been out for a few years. This is going to be kind of your form-centric application for, especially if you have a lot of those paper forms, you do lots of inspections, and you want to, just kind of get all of that paper into something else, something digital, and you have a better system of record. So this is a lot of the use of Survey 123. A lot of organizations are using Survey 123, even if there is no spatial component to the data that's being collected. Maybe it's a customer feedback survey that they post on their website. So that will still be super handy for a lot of organizations. One of the highlights with Survey 123 are the data validation rules that are available. So kind of the logic that you can build into the questions and into the form, the kind of if-then statement. So if the user answers a question this way, then something else will pop up, more items for them to fill out will pop up. So that's also been super helpful in kind of increasing the efficiency. So you don't have to have 10-page long forms to fill out depending on the actual workflow. And if you haven't used Survey 123, these are just a few ideas of kind of what you would be seeing as you're in the application. So we have it web-based, you can use it online, you can use it on your mobile devices, tablets, phones, and this is all integrated within ArcGIS Online and available also in Enterprise. So you get quite a few different options for working with your data and your field crew. One of our relatively newer applications for field data collection is also has been, we'll say, pretty popular, and especially the kind of multiple team member workflows. It's ArcGIS QuickCapture, and think of this as kind of your big button mobile app or mobile data collection. And one of the little screenshots over on the right-hand side kind of gives you an idea. These would be the features that you would be collecting. So you can possibly have a 2-person crew, maybe the driver needs to concentrate on the road and not have that mobile device open to collect data. So maybe the coworker in the passenger seat will be collecting data as the driver is driving by. And so kind of that at speed and rapid data collection workflow, that is what QuickCapture supports in these particular industries. So with those 2 applications, again, we have quite a few different field operations or applications that are available to you. So it will definitely depend on your organization's workflow, kind of what you need field mobility for. So just kind of, you don't have to use every single one of them because not every single one would be applicable to your team. But the idea that has kind of, we'll say, launched Field Maps, our newest application, is kind of taking that functionality of those few applications that we have available for data collection and putting them into one application. I went over Survey 123 and QuickCapture first because those are the actual 2 applications right now that are not incorporated into Field Maps, and they're basically, it's the reason of having different functionality. They're a little more specialized in that sense, and so we took the few applications that kind of went best together and we combined them into Field Maps. So what you get is these 5, and so currently we have the first 3 in this phase of Field Maps. We've just released or come out in phase 1. We've just come out of beta in ArcGIS Field Maps, and it's not too late. You can still download that and kind of provide feedback, test it out, let us know what you're thinking. So we've combined the benefits of Explorer, Collector, and Tracker into the one application of Field Maps. Workforce and Navigator functionality, those will be coming soon. So what the plan is with Field Maps is that we'll have different phases that we will be releasing and releasing different functionality within those phases. So you're probably asking, okay, well now, why do I need to use Field Maps? And also, so what I have to learn a whole new application again, I just learned those other few. So kind of yes and no. These are some of the 5 key benefits of field maps that we like to, I guess, kind of go over with our customers. You have that single application to deploy. And then I also have on here and learn. There will be a new application. You'll see a new icon when you download it. And the idea is also, you can get rid of the other few, or you can still use them up to a certain point, because we will be phasing out the other applications. We'll give you time, though it won't be a kind of a shock, oh no, where did it go? But the idea, again, is to simplify the workflow, essentially, so you don't have to keep opening up the few applications just to complete something. The other big key benefit is the signing in process. If especially you're an administrator of your ArcGIS Online account, you probably have gotten a lot of password requests. I can't remember my password. A lot of people tend to overlook the forgot password link on the application, so then they end up emailing you or calling you or whatnot. So we're trying to simplify that process of signing in. The duplication of offline content, we're trying to get rid of that as well, because if you've used multiple applications that we have, you might open up one, have to download some content, open up another application and have to download more content. So kind of getting rid of that. And then again, as I mentioned, as we get rid of the other applications, you'll have that smaller footprint on your mobile device, and they will also, typical with our applications in general, you'll have that consistency across those applications that you'll continue to use in ArcGIS Online. So again, kind of learning a brand new application, but not. So if you've used Collector, if you've used ArcGIS Collector, this is going to be pretty familiar to you. So some people will kind of look at it as kind of a different version of Collector, an updated version, an enhanced version of Collector. So the product engineers and developers started with the code base of ArcGIS Collector and built from there. So this is why it will also look so familiar when you get in there. So what I have here is it's a screenshot, or 3 screenshots from the different applications, just to kind of give you an idea of what they would look like. So on the far left, we've got Collector. You have your typical options of the base map, the bookmarks, and you can edit, and of course measure. And then in the middle, you have Explorer. The big thing with Explorer is to kind of take notes, and especially just measure, but also just to view maps, simple viewing of your maps. And then you have the combined, again, of those 3 applications of Collector, Explorer, and then Tracker, which I'll get to in Field Maps. So again, it has that same very familiar interface for you. Some of the viewing capabilities we like to highlight as well. So you're going to get lots more map support available in Field Maps. So symbology might not mean that much to a lot of people, but there is going to be some advanced symbology where you can also do some labeling and do some expressions in there for kind of that more advanced display of your information. You can start grouping your layers. You can also add your pop-ups will have the attribute expressions. So if you've played with Arcade, you can build those expressions in Field Map. And then you also have some layer refresh updates that are going to be available as well. Some of the map tools, again, these just kind of seem a little standard for a lot of people, but we've added a few enhancements as well. So you'll have the typical GPS. You'll notice also that your compass will kind of rotate according to the orientation that the device is facing. You'll have the typical base maps and bookmarks and your layers and your legend, everything that you would typically have in your map. And then if you're familiar also with Collector, again, you can search. You can search by either address, place name. If you need to search by feature, you can also set that up as well. So if you have maybe a site ID that you want to search on, or maybe if it's a hydrant ID, you want to search for that specific feature, you can set that up as well. And then there's also, as I mentioned, some markup capabilities. Markup is pretty big for a lot of field crews, as you want to take some notes out there. You want to maybe even share it with your coworkers or your crew supervisor back in the office. We've added some capabilities such as the types of markups that you can add. You can do lines, arrows, you can drop some points. The other big thing is that you can also change the color. So if you look at the one on the screenshot on the far right, you can see that this is in green, but there are a few different colors that you can choose from. So even if you start to kind of color code based on your team, you'll have some of those kind of that quick information that you can see in your maps. So this is us now, fall 2020, that's where we are. This is, again, we just came out of beta. We're in our first official phase or release of this. Quite a few words here on the screen, but some of the other capabilities that are available. So you can have anonymous map use, so you don't necessarily need a user account for this. You can browse some public maps and map packages. There's just the basic map viewing, and again, searching by different items, markup. There is also, especially with field data collection, you're usually concerned about the accuracy of the data. So there is that high accuracy data collection. I believe right now someone else is giving a session on maybe Trimble devices. So we do work with quite a few partners and vendors that offer some good GPS receivers that you can attach to the devices if you need more accurate data points. And then I'll get into some of the smart form capabilities, and then we also have some indoor mapping support as well. So again, I'll just kind of go through this, especially with the data collection out in the field. If you do have those receivers, that's just going to aid in getting some of those higher accuracy points. And then we also, one thing I don't think I have mentioned yet is this is also available disconnected. So if you do lose your connection in field maps, you still can keep working, and then as you reach that network availability again, it'll just upload and update. Inspection. So this is a big one with field maps. Even if your workflow, and I know right now I have hydrant inspections on this little video on the side. This is what the application looks like in an iPhone. Inspections is a big one, especially dealing with kind of the version data and also kind of relational tables or related tables. So a lot of times you might be visiting the same site over and over again. So maybe this is your 37th time going to this hydrant, but you also might be interested in what the history of the inspections are. You can look those up while you're in there in the application. What this is doing right here is also going through some of the smart forms capabilities. So not only can you group certain data sets, you can also set that smart forms capability as to where if you don't answer a certain way, then something doesn't pop up or vice versa. So in this particular example, if they don't actually perform a hydrant flushing, then there's nothing else that needs to be added to the data set. And so you can continue collecting and kind of move on from there. So this goes through a series of kind of the required fields that needs to be, you can set up those that need to be filled out. And then depending on how you answer previous questions, you will have other questions that pop up. So flushing is required here. Then if that is the case, we will enter pressure, we'll enter flow, and then the flow rate. Otherwise, just keep on cruising. I mentioned tracker as well. So what you will find when you open up field maps, we will have these what's called map cards. So instead of having to open up the tracker application and turn on tracking and then now close that out and then go into a different application, this will just be available on your main screen when you get into field maps. So you can just toggle this on and off. And so it still has a lot of the capability and functionality of tracker itself, just the standalone application, but it's not going to allow you to do kind of that scheduling of the tracking, or like with my Apple Watch, I can just turn on tracker through here. It doesn't have that, but that's okay, you know, because the full-blown application will still be there. But this is just kind of the quick way to turn on your tracking when you're in field maps. And we also have some indoor mapping capabilities. So some of you may have already used ArcGIS Indoors itself, a separate application. If not, that's okay, but this is just kind of giving you some information on how you can collect data indoors. And so one of the big challenges with collecting indoor data is typically levels. So if you're in a big building, maybe it's got 11 floors, but any data that you collect, it's always going to be in the attribute table as to which floor it's on. So a lot of times you just have to keep digging to find out exactly where it is. So as long as your data sets have the facility ID and levels, built within the attribute table, you're going to be able to kind of collect that floor level data. So it's kind of, again, it's built on it models the ArcGIS Indoors information model. Very quick overview on Indoors there. And then we also have a web application. So in addition to the mobile app that you would have on your phone or your tablet, maybe you have the back office staff who can go in and take a look at the different application or the different maps that are available in Field Maps and kind of configure and mess with the settings in the web application. And I'm going to show you that in just a couple of minutes as well. So this is where you're going to be able to, you can deploy your maps to specific people. You can manage the offline content, whether you even want it to be editable offline or not, and then also do some of that smart form capability. And then what I have here in gray, dispatch and manage work, that's kind of the workforce piece of it. That is going to be coming in the additional phases. So kind of a summary of more to come. So we're going to integrate this into App Launcher. It is there now in beta, but again, we'll be completely out of beta. Centralized experience, and then you guys can also manage the capabilities through the actual web application versus just always having to go into each particular feature within ArcGIS Online and editing or customizing and configuring that way. What's also available are feature templates. So this is going to be kind of a new term essentially. So you can actually set up different types of editing capabilities for particular features. So this will likely make more sense when you actually see it, but maybe you know that you're going to be doing some damage assessments and you want to make sure that you have certain features that are going to be available first and kind of at the top of your menu to start collecting. You can delete templates, you can duplicate them if you have multiple field crews going out, and either way, do all kinds of different feature template alterations essentially in the actual web application versus having to create duplicates of data in ArcGIS Online. And then these are just a few screenshots of how you can manage some of the offline data. I will show you this in just a second. So on this, I did a little video instead of trying to unplug everything and plug things back in on a webinar. So I'll go ahead and play this. So I would essentially log into my ArcGIS Online account. This is my main page here, and we go to the App Launcher. This is where you find all of your different web applications. And so I'll launch Field Maps. It'll look like this right now just because we are technically still in beta on this one. As I get into my account, I can see all of the different maps that are available for me in Field Maps. So it's very similar look and feel to some of our other web applications. So I'll open up the hazards map. So maybe I have a crew that needs to go out there and start collecting the hazard information, what they see out in the field. I can see all the basics, who created what, at what time, what's the summary of it, and I can change some of that here if I want. I can also see the sharing status as well. We have a kind of a table of contents here, so I can take a look at what is actually in the map in terms of my editable layers. And you can do basic feature kind of configuration and customization in this particular web application. So I can change the name, add a description, or I might even want to add some default values. So maybe I know that day I'm going out, it's going to be all kinds of wire down reports. So maybe I'll just go ahead and put something in there like wire down from this storm. It's the same storm for all the ones that I'm going to be collecting. The drag and drop, I can reorder this. So as I was mentioning, if I know most of these are going to be wire down first, then I can put that at the top of my list. And so this will show up first on my list as I'm collecting in Field Maps. You can also take a look at what base maps are available. Can't change them in here, but I can change them in the application. So this isn't as big of a deal. You can also take a look at the offline settings. So again, you can take a look at what is actually in the map and what you can do with them. You can make map areas. So this one's really popular, especially when you're about to go offline. You want to download those map areas before you head out to the field because you're pretty sure you're going to lose a connection. So you can go and create your managed areas, maybe even have particular crews that need to be assigned to particular areas. And so when they get out to the field, or before they go, they would download those map areas and be set. That way they don't have a lag in their work. So you can create those in here, create them, delete them, edit them, however. You can also set updates. So if you know that someone else is going to consistently be working in that area with other layers, and you want to make sure that the field crews are also getting those updates to those other layers, you can set those, you can schedule those updates to happen as well. You can also take a look at the feature attachment delivery options. So again, if you're working offline, you're going to be snapping pictures of certain areas or whatever you're collecting out in the field. Maybe you need to set up how that synchronizes, because it's going to be a lot of data that gets pushed over. So those settings are also available in here. And also if you want to use a tiled base map, so that'll also save some time with rendering and just kind of the data collection process in general. The sharing features, this should look pretty familiar if you've used any of the sharing options in ArcGIS Online before. So I can do all of that here, all within the web application part. And then lastly, I believe I have on here, if you go, I think I go back into the offline layers, you can still hop out. I can do so much in here, but if I still need to do more to my particular features, I can go out to the item settings page in ArcGIS Online and take a look at those and do more adjustments if needed. So again, all of this, as I mentioned, I can't assume that it looks so familiar to everyone, as I know maybe not everyone has used Collector, not everyone has used Explore or Tracker. We're giving, I'll say, plenty of time to kind of get field maps under the belt, essentially. Get in there, play with it, make some maps, test out some different applications or different uses of field maps, and start collecting data. You can't break anything. Again, we're in the first release of the mobile application, and then for the mobile app online, we'll be still working on that for the December release. You can still, again, join the beta. That will be up until about next month, and even then, I think the beta program is still going to be going on in terms of feedback and suggestions. So again, the first release right now, it includes the capabilities of Collector, Explorer, and Tracker, and then with Navigator and Workforce to come. Product highlights is just an overview of all the things I've already said to you, and then we'll kind of bring it full circle essentially. So again, combining those application specializations, basically all the capabilities of Collector, Tracker, Explorer, Navigator, and Workforce, trying to make this a little more seamless for our users. And hopefully this does help. If you see on the bottom right as well, we still do have those specialized apps that we'll say will remain separate. So Survey 123, QuickCapture. We have still even a few others outside of this, Indoors, Mission. Those will still be there standing alone. And I know those are long URLs there, but I at least wanted to let you know that there are definitely lots of resources out there. If you haven't already seen some of the blogs, some of the Learn lessons, take a look at those. There are quite a few good ones even on just this first page here on learn.arcgis.com. There's a Get to Know ArcGIS Field Maps, where it kind of covers most of what I said in about 10 minutes versus the 20 to 30 minutes here, and then 5 things to try. So it's going to highlight some of those common workflows within field maps, and then also, especially for the administrators, kind of how to migrate your team and the users to ArcGIS Field Maps. So it provides a guide and kind of compares back and forth for you. I know that was a lot of information really quickly, so either way, I wanted to thank everyone for joining me on this discussion. There is my email address if you come up with, I know we'll still have time for questions here, but if you think of something else outside of here, again, I'm on the Florida account team, happy to help where I can.
Thank you so much, Lakeisha. Yes, we do have a few questions If anybody else has more questions, be sure to type them in the box in your go-to dashboard, and I'll get to reading them. All right, the first one says, can field maps combine a mobile map package that has a vector, tile, and reference layers with a syncable offline editable layer?
My initial answer is going to be yes, and I don't have that many details. Yes, I believe so. And I will admit, I am also still learning a lot of the capability of field maps, but I believe yes.
Okay. How large of an area can you download?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I do not know the answer to that one, but I can find out. I don't know how I'll get that answer to you.
Okay. Is the arcade feature set function working in Collector now?
That I do know. That is not available now, but it is due to come out in the, even though 10.8.1 is available now, when we release the functionality for that in the 10.8.1 release, it will be there. So I say soon. I think I keep hearing December, so within a matter of weeks for that.
Okay. And right now, that's all we have for questions.
And Morgan, I think I'll go back to even the second question. I don't know the answer for how large of an area, but keep in mind that when you do make an area, it'll show that file size when you get into the application to download it. So typically you want to keep it smaller, just because you're having to download that whole area and area's information onto your device. So it will take longer to download, but either way, all that just to add on to, I'm not sure.
We had somebody also mention that the size of the area you can download depends on the resolution of the base map, and that this person has been able to use all of Florida as an outline area in field maps, but it's extremely low resolution. So.
Okay, thank you.
And then can you use field maps through Portal for ArcGIS?
You can. That's also going to be on that 10.8.1 release. So even though that's available now in terms of Portal is there in that version, when we get all of that functionality available on that 10.8.1 release, yes, you can. And so that's also still due to be coming out in a matter of weeks. In December is what they're shooting for.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you to everybody attending at the moment for coming to SHRUG this year. If anybody has any other questions, please be sure to email Lakeisha. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.